destroying us.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle has followed a strikingly steady course.
Belief that Harry is going to be at his father's coronation.
Although Meghan Markle is often in the news for the wrong reasons, no one had expected what just happened between her and King Charles. Reports say Meghan has now begged the king after a move many believe is his final action toward her. King Charles is said to be outraged, though the reason behind his reaction remains unclear, especially at a time when it seemed the royal family's conflict had calmed down. So, what really triggered this final move? Join us as we uncover the full story behind Meghan Markle's plea to King Charles. Why Meghan Markle begs King Charles. King Charles is reportedly upset with Meghan Markle over the ongoing rift between Prince Harry, his wife, and the rest of the royal family. According to a palace insider, this may be the king's final stance toward Meghan, following years of unresolved tension. Sources within the palace reveal that the king, along with other senior royals including Prince William, has made repeated efforts to mend the strained relationship. However, these attempts have reportedly been met with resistance.
Meghan and Harry were off on their gallivanting "we want privacy" tour,
largely attributed to Meghan's unwillingness to cooperate. Now, following the king's latest actions, Meghan is said to be reaching out in a bid for reconciliation, something she had previously resisted. But how true are these claims? Have there truly been efforts from either side to heal the long-standing divide? Stay tuned as we take a closer look at the untold side of the royal family saga. The very first action that many considered a genuine opening for reconciliation came in the spring of 2021. Prince Harry returned to the United Kingdom for Prince Philip's funeral only weeks after the television interview that exposed deep problems inside the royal family. The timing was important. The interview had caused serious damage, and no one expected warmth or reconciliation. Harry came alone, without Meghan, and kept a low profile. He gave no interviews and released no statements. He did not try to explain himself. In royal life, showing up still matters. Attending the funeral showed that Harry had not fully cut ties with his family. During the service, he had short, private conversations with Prince William, away from cameras. Nothing was settled during those moments, but the fact that they spoke at all mattered. That funeral slowed the public fight. It did not solve anything, but it stopped things from getting worse. A few months later, the same pattern appeared during the unveiling of the statue of Princess Diana. This event was always going to be sensitive. Diana remains the strongest emotional link between Harry and William. The brothers stood together because the moment was about their mother, not their conflict. Their tension was clear, and there was no attempt to pretend otherwise. Still, they completed the duty together. That choice showed that even with anger and distance, they could still work together when something deeply personal was involved. Later, Harry and Meghan returned to the UK for Queen Elizabeth II's Jubilee. This visit mattered because they brought their children, who had rarely been in Britain since the couple stepped back from royal duties. In public, they stayed mostly on the sidelines. They did not appear on the balcony or take part in the most symbolic events. Behind the scenes, however, they met privately with the Queen. These meetings were not described as reconciliation efforts. They were simply personal visits. Earlier that same year, Harry and Meghan had also stopped in Windsor to see the Queen while traveling elsewhere. At the time, the visit was not announced. There was no pressure for them to go. Later, Harry spoke about the meeting in positive terms. He described it as supportive. This suggested that his relationship with his grandmother existed apart from the larger family conflict. It also showed that both sides were still willing to meet privately without turning every interaction into a public moment. Aside from this, there is one moment that stood out. The Queen's death forced the family together under intense attention. One moment stood out clearly. Prince William, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan appeared together for a walkabout to greet mourners. The appearance was reportedly arranged by William. It required trust and agreement from both sides. The two couples walked together and faced the public as one group during a time of national grief. It did not mean that their issues were resolved, but it showed that cooperation was still possible when the situation demanded it. After the mourning period, focus returned to Harry's public comments. His memoir described his anger and pain in direct terms, especially toward his father and brother. Many believed this ended any chance of repair. Still, in later interviews, Harry said clearly that he wanted reconciliation. He said he wanted his family back. These statements existed alongside criticism, but they mattered. They showed that despite everything, he still cared about the relationship and had not fully walked away from it. The palace response reflected this same balance. Harry and Meghan were invited to King Charles's coronation. That invitation was not guaranteed. Excluding them would have been easy. Instead, the invitation showed that the door was still open. Harry attended alone and stayed briefly. He did not take on a public role. His presence showed respect for his father and the moment, without pretending that family problems had disappeared. When King Charles later announced his cancer diagnosis, Harry traveled to the UK to see him. The visit was short and private.
My love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
Few details were shared. Still, the reason was clear. This was not about duty or public image. It was about a son responding to his father's illness. In families with long-running conflict, serious health issues often change priorities. After that visit, Harry's public tone changed. While court cases and media disputes continued, his words became calmer. He spoke less about blame and more about personal limits. The anger did not disappear, but it was expressed less openly. This change reduced public tension and left more room for private talks, if any were to happen. Throughout all of this, the palace largely stayed silent. Official responses were rare and carefully written. This silence frustrated many people, but it avoided turning the conflict into an endless public fight. Although all of these moments can be seen as quiet steps toward reconciliation, there is still a growing sense that true healing is needed, especially now that King Charles's health has become more delicate. Some have pointed to this as a timely and urgent reason to mend old wounds. Beyond that, it's becoming clear that Harry and Meghan have given up more than just royal titles by stepping away from the family. Let's now explore some of the hidden privileges of royal life that they may no longer enjoy. What Prince Harry and Meghan are missing out on. The break that happened in early 2020 changed everything about Prince Harry's position in the royal family, and it set off a chain reaction that affected Meghan and, eventually, their children. When Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back as senior working royals,
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex will soon stop the royal titles, and according to a statement from Buckingham Palace,
it was not presented as a full exit at first. They spoke about wanting a progressive new role, one that would allow them to serve the Queen while also earning private income. Inside the royal system, that idea did not really exist. Royal privilege has always been tied directly to service. You work for the crown, you represent the monarch, and in return, you receive protection, funding, status, and institutional backing. Once Harry and Meghan stepped away from full-time royal duties, that foundation disappeared, and almost every loss that followed can be traced back to that moment. Losing full-time royal status meant Harry and Meghan no longer represented the monarch in any official way.
William could move to strip her of her Duchess of Sussex title when he becomes monarch.
They stopped attending most state occasions, stopped carrying out formal engagements on behalf of the crown, and stopped being part of the core group that keeps the monarchy visible and relevant. This was not just about fewer appearances. It changed how they were seen, the institution. Senior royals are part of a working structure with clear roles and expectations. Once Harry and Meghan left that structure, they became family members rather than functional parts of the monarchy. In royal history, that distinction matters. Privilege flows from usefulness to the crown, not simply from blood. With that shift came the loss of public funding. As working royals, their office and staff were supported through the sovereign grant and the Prince of Wales's duchy income. That covered communications teams, administrative staff, and the machinery needed to operate as public figures tied to the monarchy. Once they stepped back, that funding stopped. Their office was shut down. Staff were reassigned or let go, and Harry and Meghan became responsible for paying their own way. This was a major change, because for most of Harry's life, the financial side of royal work had been invisible to him. The monarchy took those costs quietly. Now, every decision had a price tag attached to it, and that reality pushed them further into the private, commercial world. But that is not all. Security became one of the most serious and emotional consequences of the split. Harry lost automatic, publicly funded police protection in the UK. In modern royal practice, security is based on role, not simply title or birth. Working royals receive protection because they are visible representatives of the state and potential targets. Once Harry stopped performing that role, the state no longer viewed full-time protection as justified. This has happened before. Other royals who stepped away from duties did not keep the same level of security, even when they remained members of the family. For Harry, whose mother died in a car crash linked to media pressure and security failures,
I love him deeply. There has been a lot of pain between the two of us, especially the last 6 years.
this loss carried deep personal weight. Still, from the institution's perspective, the rule was consistent: no role, no automatic protection. Another symbolic but important loss was the practical use of the His Royal Highness style. Harry and Meghan technically still hold the titles, but they agreed not to use them in any official or commercial capacity. This mattered because His Royal Highness is more than a formality. It signals active royal status and institutional backing. By stepping away from its use, Harry and Meghan placed a clear line between themselves and the working monarchy. They were no longer addressed or treated as representatives of the crown, and that changed how governments, charities, and organizations interacted with them. Harry also lost his honorary military roles, including his position as Captain General of the Royal Marines. These roles were deeply personal to him. Harry served in the armed forces and often spoke about the military as one of the few places where he felt understood and grounded. Honorary military appointments are symbolic, but they represent loyalty, service, and trust between the royal and the institution. Historically, when that trust breaks down, or when a royal steps away from duty, these roles are removed. It is not personal in the way it might feel, but it is firm. Once Harry stopped being an active royal, it was no longer possible for him to keep important honorary positions because it didn't fit with how the royal system works. Their loss of residence in the UK added a physical dimension to the separation. Frogmore Cottage, located on the Windsor estate, had been their official home. It represented a base in Britain and a tangible link to royal life. When they were asked to vacate it, they lost more than a house. They lost a permanent foothold inside the royal system. Without a residence on royal grounds, their visits to the UK became temporary and tightly managed. Historically, royals who fall out with the core institution often experience this kind of distancing. Access is no longer automatic. It now depends on certain conditions being met. Over time, Harry and Meghan also lost their central role in royal family events. At weddings, jubilees, coronations, and major national moments, they are no longer at the heart of proceedings. When they do attend, their presence is limited, carefully planned, and often placed at the edges rather than the center. This is not unique in royal history. Family members who challenge the monarch or publicly break ranks are often gradually sidelined. The monarchy prioritizes unity and continuity, and anyone seen as disruptive is managed accordingly. Alongside this came the loss of influence within the royal institution. As a working royal, Harry once had a voice in discussions about charitable priorities, public messaging, and the future direction of royal causes. That influence disappeared once he stepped away. In the past, even princes were left out of important decisions when the king or queen no longer trusted them. The royal family has a clear chain of command and moves carefully. Being born into it does not automatically give you power. You have to earn trust to have influence. Harry and Meghan also lost their royal patronages. These patronages connected them to charities and organizations under the formal umbrella of the crown. They brought prestige, access, and long-term influence. When Harry and Meghan gave them up, those organizations were reassigned to other working royals. Outside the royal system, Harry and Meghan can still support causes, but it is not the same. Royal patronage opens doors that private advocacy cannot, and once lost, that institutional power is difficult to replace. The conflict also affected their children. Archie and Lilibet were not given the titles of prince and princess when they were born. At the time, Harry was no longer a working royal, and Charles was not yet king. Under long-standing rules, only the children of the monarch and the children of the monarch's sons automatically receive those titles. This decision reflected tradition rather than punishment, but it highlighted how distance from the center of the monarchy affects status. While their titles were later acknowledged after Charles became king, the delay underscored their family's altered position. Another, less visible loss was the protection of institutional silence. Working royals benefit from the palace's long-standing approach to media storms. The institution absorbs criticism, issues carefully worded statements when necessary, and often lets controversies fade without direct engagement. Once Harry and Meghan left, that shield disappeared. The palace no longer corrected stories or defended them. They were left to respond on their own, which exposed them to harsher and more prolonged public scrutiny. For Archie and Lilibet, the biggest question is about who they will grow up to be. Even though they now have the titles of prince and princess, they are being raised outside the royal world. They are not learning royal traditions, attending royal events, or following the usual royal path. In the past, royal children who grew up far from the royal family often became more like symbols than real parts of the monarchy. Their royal status is official, but in real life, they are not fully involved. As time passes, this gap can become permanent. Given all these privileges that Prince Harry, Meghan, and their children are missing out on, one might wonder why Harry chose to step away from royal life in the first place. What truly caused the rift? And why has making peace been so difficult? Let's find out. The conflicts between Prince Harry and the royal family. The tension between Prince Harry and the royal family started when he chose to marry Meghan Markle. When Harry got engaged to Meghan in 2017, it caused quiet unrest within the royal household. Meghan was an American, biracial, divorced, and a former actress. That background didn't fit the usual image of a royal bride. Even though Queen Elizabeth gave her official approval, it was clear that some members of the royal family and their staff had doubts. Those doubts soon made their way into the press. Prince William reportedly told Harry to slow things down with Meghan. While that may have been brotherly advice, Harry saw it as judgment. There were also concerns among royal aides about how Meghan would fit into the royal system. These private concerns quickly leaked into the media. Many of the early headlines about Meghan had negative and even racist tones. Meghan's strong personality and former career in Hollywood were used against her, which created both public and private conflicts between her and the royal family. Behind the scenes, there were also concerns about how Meghan's background would change the image of the monarchy. Some palace insiders reportedly worried about how the public would react to a biracial woman entering the royal family so visibly. These worries were never openly addressed, but they shaped how Meghan was treated. Harry later said this silent resistance reminded him of how his mother, Princess Diana, had been treated by the monarch. He felt history was repeating itself, only this time with a racial element added to it. This tension quickly affected the relationship between Harry and William. What started as a disagreement over Meghan turned into a growing distance between the brothers. In a 2019 documentary, Harry admitted they were on different paths. He didn't say much more at the time, but things worsened. There were also problems between Meghan and Kate Middleton. Right before Harry and Meghan's wedding in 2018, stories came out saying Meghan made Kate cry during a disagreement about dresses for the Flower Girls. But during the 2021 Oprah interview, Meghan said it was the opposite. Kate made her cry, then apologized. This change in the story shocked many people and showed how much of the media narrative had been based on incomplete or misleading information. Harry later explained that these stories were allowed to run because the palace chose not to correct them. He believed the royal system protected certain members while sacrificing others to control public opinion. In his view, Meghan was left exposed while others were shielded. That belief became one of the deepest sources of anger between him and his family. As problems inside the palace grew, the media attention outside became overwhelming. Meghan and Harry were constantly attacked in tabloids. Some coverage was openly racist. Meghan later said that during her first pregnancy, she felt so isolated and unprotected that she had suicidal thoughts. When she asked for help from the royal institution, she was told nothing could be done. Harry also said his family didn't step in to defend them. That silence, for Harry and Meghan, felt like a betrayal. During this period, rumors also began circulating about their unborn child. Some media commentators and online figures questioned what the baby would look like and how royal the child would be considered. Harry later revealed that conversations had taken place within the family about how dark his child's skin might be. To him, these were not harmless comments, but signs of deep-rooted bias that the palace failed to challenge. But then, something happened that shifted everything. By early 2020, they decided they had enough. On January 8th, they announced that they would step back from royal duties. This shocked the royal family and led to a serious meeting at Sandringham. The Queen later said she supported their wish to be more independent, but explained there would be consequences. Harry and Meghan agreed to give up public funding and stop using some royal titles. They were also no longer allowed to represent the Queen at official events. Things became more serious in 2021, and what happened next was something no one saw coming. Harry and Meghan confirmed they would not return as working royals. In response, Queen Elizabeth took away Harry's honorary military titles and several patronages. Then came the Oprah interview in March 2021. Meghan and Harry shared many things, but one moment stood out. They said a member of the royal family had asked about how dark their unborn baby's skin might be. They didn't name who said it, but confirmed it wasn't the Queen or Prince Philip. The palace released a short statement saying, "Recollections may vary," but didn't go further. That interview caused global reactions. Some people supported the Sussexes, while others doubted their claims. After the interview, another damaging wave of rumors began. Online conspiracy theories questioned the legitimacy of Harry's children. Some claimed the children were not biologically theirs, or that surrogates had been secretly used. Others went as far as questioning whether the children should be in the line of succession. These rumors were not backed by evidence, but the palace again stayed silent. Harry reportedly saw this silence as dangerous. In June 2021, Meghan gave birth to their daughter and named her Lilibet Diana. The name Lilibet was the Queen's private nickname in the family. Some media reports said the Queen had not approved of them using it. This created another conflict. Harry later insisted they had informed the Queen, while palace sources suggested otherwise. The disagreement added to the growing mistrust between both sides. Later that year, Harry and Meghan worked on a Netflix series. It was released in December 2022. The series painted a negative picture of royal life. Harry said the palace had allowed the media to harm them. Meghan talked more about her mental health and feeling silenced. The palace didn't respond publicly, but sources said they saw the series as another betrayal. This made it even harder to see a path to peace between them. Then came Harry's book Spare in January 2023. It contained many personal stories. He wrote about fights with William, saying William once knocked him to the ground. He also accused Camilla of leaking stories to the media. He said King Charles didn't help him when he needed it. Harry also made it clear that protecting his children was one of his main reasons for speaking out. He believed that if he stayed silent, the same forces that destroyed his mother would eventually harm his family too. The palace stuck to its usual silence. Even as the book became a bestseller, Harry felt he was telling his side. The palace likely saw it as airing private family matters to the world. In May 2023, Harry returned to London for his father's coronation. Meghan stayed in California. Harry sat far back in the church and left right after the ceremony. It seemed like a respectful visit, but not a warm one. He was there in person, but not as a central part of the royal event. Many saw it as a sign that Harry was no longer part of the inner circle. With all these long-running conflicts, many are now wondering what the future holds for Prince Harry, Meghan, and their children. Will the royal family eventually welcome them back, or is a permanent split now inevitable? The answer might surprise you. The future of Prince Harry and Meghan in the royal family. When people think about the future of Prince Harry, Meghan, and their children, especially after King Charles is no longer alive, the picture becomes clearer and more serious. King Charles still acts as a bridge. Even when he is upset, he listens. He takes calls. He leaves the door slightly open. When he is gone, that protection disappears. The royal family then becomes more formal, less emotional, and more focused on rules than feelings. Prince Harry has already crossed a line that is hard to return from. He stepped away from royal duties, gave interviews, wrote a book, and spoke openly about private family matters. In the future, these actions will not be forgotten. Royal history shows that when trust is broken, it is rarely fully repaired. Over time, Harry is likely to be seen more as a relative of the king than as part of the royal system itself. When Prince William becomes king, the situation is expected to tighten. William values control, loyalty, and privacy. His relationship with Harry is deeply damaged, not just emotionally, but in terms of trust. Kings in the past who felt betrayed by close family members often kept them at a distance. They did not fight publicly. They simply reduced access and influence. That pattern is likely to repeat. Meghan's future role inside the royal family is even smaller. She left early, never fully settled into royal life, and later criticized the institution. Over time, the palace is likely to treat her as an outsider. History shows that spouses who leave and speak against the monarchy are rarely brought back into the fold. At best, they are treated politely. At worst, they are ignored. Their children face a different kind of future. They have royal titles, but titles alone do not give power or place. Growing up outside the UK means they will not have daily contact with royal life. The public may know their names, but they will not grow up seeing them as future royal figures. Many royals in history held titles, but lived private lives far from the crown. As the years pass, public interest will also change. Right now, the story is still fresh, but history shows that people move on. New kings, new heirs, and new issues take over. Royals who stay quiet and serve often gain respect over time. Those who keep reopening old wounds slowly lose attention. What Harry and Meghan do now matters greatly. If they continue speaking about the royal family, the distance will grow. Silence and time are the only things that have ever healed royal rifts. The monarchy is built to wait. It does not rush to forgive, but it also does not chase anyone who leaves. Their financial independence gives them freedom, but it also weakens their tie to the royal family. In the past, royal relatives depended on the crown and stayed close. Harry and Meghan do not. This makes it easier for the palace to move on without them. In the future, major royal events will show their true place. Funerals, coronations, and state ceremonies always reveal rank and importance. If the current path continues, Harry may attend quietly without a major role. Meghan may not always be present. Their children may be acknowledged, but not centered. Over time, the royal family is likely to tell this story as a personal choice made by Harry, not a failure of the monarchy. That protects the crown. History tends to remember the institution more than individual complaints. Harry, Meghan, and their children can still live full and successful lives outside the royal system. But inside the royal family story, their roles are likely to become smaller with time. The monarchy survives by moving forward. Those who step away are not pulled back. The crown simply carries on. Do you think the royal family is delaying taking action against Prince Harry and Meghan? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.